My best friend ended her life after crashing her car into my eldest brother, leaving him with a broken leg and then jumping from the 30th floor. After the accident, she lay in a pool of blood on the pavement, her body broken but her voice steady as she smiled faintly at me. "River," she whispered, "I'll wait for you over there." Only then did I understand. She hadn't just lost control of the wheel. She had chosen to escape this world. That night, I baked a birthday cake. It was supposed to be for myself, but it felt more like a farewell offering. I lit the candles, snapped a picture, and sent a message to the family group chat. "I'm leaving." A reply came almost immediately. Spencer, my second brother, the ever-cold doctor, sent just a single digit. 1. Then came a voice message from Skylar, my third brother, the international pop star with millions of fans and not an ounce of empathy for his own sister. "If you're going to die, then just die already," he laughed. "All you ever do is envy Agnes. If you really die today, I'll live stream myself eating shit." My parents didn't reply with words, but their silence was worse. Instead, they flooded the chat with photos of Agnes, my adoptive sister, grinning at Disneyland, blowing out candles, showered in gifts and affection. Only Sawyer, my eldest brother, the CEO who always tried to keep the family glued together, sent a voice message, his tone trembling. "River, you know where Kiana went, don't you? Please,
Tell me.
I didn't answer. Instead, I cut myself a slice of cake and ate it slowly, one bite at a time. The sweetness tasted like ashes. When I finished the last piece, I opened the Assistant Post app on my phone. It was the one that listed different methods of suicide. "Are you sure you want to choose this method? This way of dying will be very painful. I suggest you reconsider." The mechanical voice tried to warn me. I ignored it. My finger hovered for only a moment before I pressed confirm. When everything was ready, I finally looked at my phone again. The group chat was still buzzing, pictures, emojis, birthday greetings, all celebrating Agnes's 18th birthday. Spencer had canceled several surgeries just to be with her. Skylar postponed an entire concert tour to sing her a birthday song. And Sawyer, the one who had been hit by my best friend's car, was still sending voice messages filled with regret. "River, please tell me where Kiana went. I'm begging you." I turned off my phone. The noise was unbearable. I threw the rest of the cake into the trash, wiped my hands, and followed the system's navigation to my chosen location, Bucksport Hospital. Just as I reached the entrance, my phone rang again. "River, what did you say to Agnes?" Spencer's voice thundered through the speaker. "Why did she take sleeping pills? Why would she try to kill herself?" I held the phone, staring blankly at the hospital lights reflecting on the wet pavement. I'd lost count of how many times I'd been accused of things I hadn't done. Framed, blamed, humiliated, again and again. I sighed softly. "Is she dead?" Before he could spit out another curse, I ended the call. Inside the hospital, I searched for a quiet corner, somewhere I could wait for the system's final prompt. I was almost relieved. Finally, an end. But before I could sit down, a sharp slap exploded across my face. "River, you've gone too far." It was Spencer. His white coat was streaked with fatigue and fury. His eyes burned with a kind of disappointment that was almost convincing. "I thought you were just spoiled," he hissed. "But I never imagined you'd actually try to hurt someone." I looked up at him, the sting of the slap fading under the numbness in my chest. "If only you knew," I thought, "how much this family has already killed me." "You really are the child of a murderer," Spencer spat, his voice cutting through the sterile air of the hospital corridor. "Your bad genes are undeniable. 18 years under the same roof, and you're still rotten to the core. A born villain." Before I could react, he grabbed my arm and yanked me up from the chair. "Kneel outside the emergency room," he ordered coldly. "You'll stay there until Agnes wakes up." I tried to pull free, but his grip only tightened. The struggle sent me stumbling backward, and my head struck the wall with a sharp crack. The world went black for a moment. When I blinked my eyes open, a warm trickle ran down my forehead.
Blood.
Spencer froze, his expression flickering from fury to something like panic. I wiped the blood away with my sleeve, my voice steady. "Spencer, I've never hurt Agnes. And I won't bear a crime I didn't commit." He stared at me, silent for a beat, then gave a bitter laugh. "Didn't hurt her? Then why are you here, looking this guilty in the middle of the night?" He sneered, his tone dripping with contempt. "Don't tell me you came to the hospital just for fun." "I came here to commit suicide," I said quietly. His expression faltered for half a second. "The method I chose," I continued, was from a system that prevents hospital tragedies. Tonight, a man will enter this hospital armed with a knife. He'll attack 7 doctors before ending his own life. One of the victims will be a female specialist in women's health and cancer. Before she dies, she'll propose a reform for the speculum and develop medical-grade sanitary pads that could save countless women from infection. I met Spencer's stunned gaze, my tone calm but distant. In my original world, my mother died from uterine cancer. That's why the system chose me. My mission is almost complete. I only came here to make sure that Doctor lives to give women like my mother another chance. Spencer's expression hardened again, the flicker of confusion in his eyes swallowed by anger. So this is your new act? Gaining sympathy by pretending to die. His voice rose, sharp and venomous.
Who taught you this?
Was it your crazy friend who jumped off a building? She was a lunatic just like you. Worthless trash. Before I could reply, a loud, mocking voice echoed down the corridor. Well said, brother. Skylar appeared, swaggering toward us with his phone raised high, waving a news article like a trophy. The glare of the screen caught his smirk as he read the headline aloud. Fish seller's daughter kills herself out of shame, unable to compete with her rich husband's first love. He laughed cruelly. River, look at this. Isn't it true? You're just like Kiana Zimmer, a pathetic nobody. You were switched at birth, raised in our family for 18 years, and yet you still can't compare to a single strand of Agnes's hair. Before I could step back, he grabbed a fistful of my hair and yanked my head up to face him. His eyes gleamed with contempt. Listen carefully, he said through clenched teeth. If you come with me and apologize to Agnes, I'll forgive you this time. Otherwise, I'll expose your real-life story to every university in the country. Not a single one will accept you. Okay, I said calmly. Skylar froze. His grip tightened unconsciously, his expression twisted with disbelief. What did you just say? I said okay, I repeated. He let out a dry, humorless laugh. Do you even understand what that means, River? You'll never go to college. Never. You'll be nothing. I looked up at him, meeting his gaze steadily. I know exactly what that means. Because I'd already lived through worse. Just 3 months before my college entrance exams, my mother, the woman who raised me, was diagnosed with cancer. My father and brothers had lied, saying she'd gone on a trip. I only found out when it was too late. And now here they were again, playing gods over someone else's life, someone else's death. Of course I knew. How could I not? My mother had always been the heart of our family, the calm in every storm, the thread holding us all together. She often told me, River, this family would fall apart without you. And every time, I smiled and teased her gently. Then you have to live a long, long life, Mom. Because if you don't, we'll all fall apart. I still remember the day I found out she was dying. I had secretly followed my father and brothers to the hospital, curious about their hushed conversations and sudden trips. What I saw shattered me. Mom was lying in bed, her frame so frail she seemed swallowed by the white sheets. The chemotherapy had drained every color from her face, but she still clung to Dad's hand with trembling fingers. Did River find out? She whispered. Is she doing okay at school? I can't let her miss her college entrance exams. My baby's going to be a scientist someday. Her voice cracked on that last word. I couldn't bear it. I ran out of the hospital and didn't stop until I reached the lake nearby. The water shimmered with the sunset, and I cried there for 3 hours straight, my reflection breaking with every ripple. That was the day I made my decision. I would drop out of school and stay by her side. I didn't want to miss another second of her life. So yes, I knew exactly what it felt like to lose a dream. I knew what it meant to give up university, to watch your world crumble in silence. River, have you lost your mind? Skylar snapped, his voice dragging me back to the present. Wasn't Oxford University's physics department your biggest dream? Spencer stood frozen, disbelief clouding his face. Before I could answer, a nurse came running down the corridor, her voice trembling. Dr. Saint, it's bad. Your sister woke up. She's having a depressive episode. She's threatening to jump off the building.
Ah.
Agnes. She always had perfect timing. When I ranked first in the city's mock exams, she had a breakdown that stole every bit of attention. When I was burning with a 40-degree fever and mustered the strength to call home, she had another attack. So when I heard the nurse's words, I wasn't surprised. Inside the ward, Agnes sat by the open window, clutching a small fruit knife. Her tears streaked down her pale cheeks as she whimpered. Dad. Mom. Spencer. Skylar. I'm so scared, she sobbed. I dreamed they beat me again. They said they'd sell me to that hunchback in the village. Why didn't you come for me sooner? Her trembling voice cracked like glass. Even my father, Stephen Saint, the man who built an empire from nothing, looked broken. His eyes glistened as he reached out to her. Agnes, sweetheart, put down the knife.
Come to Daddy.
You're home now. I can give you anything you want. Beside him, my mother, Addison Saint, was sobbing so hard she could barely speak. Agnes, my precious baby, please come down. Mommy's here. Don't scare us like this. Agnes hiccuped, her breathing uneven. For a moment, it seemed she might calm down. But then her gaze shifted toward me, sharp and trembling. But River doesn't like me, she choked out. She said I don't deserve to be your child. That I don't belong in the Saint family at all. Maybe I should just die instead. She screamed the last word and pressed the knife against her wrist. River. Skylar roared, turning on me. His expression twisted with fury. Did you really say that to Agnes? Where did you get the nerve? Before I could respond, his hand struck my face, hard. The sound echoed in the sterile room. My cheek burned, and before I could steady myself, he yanked my hair and dragged me forward until I was kneeling at Agnes's feet. Don't believe a word, she says, Agnes, he growled. You're the true daughter of our family. She's just an imposter. Yes, my mother cried out, clutching her chest. River isn't our daughter. You are Agnes. You're our only child. The words hit me harder than the slap. Agnes's tears slowed, her trembling eased. She lowered the knife slightly, her eyes darting between them, then to me. Be good, darling, Spencer coaxed gently. Hand me the knife. Don't hurt yourself. For a moment, she seemed to listen. She even smiled faintly, then screamed. Before anyone could react, the blade flashed through the air. Swish. A sharp pain tore down my face, slicing from my forehead to the corner of my mouth. I gasped as the heat of blood spread across my skin. The pain burned, searing and familiar. It reminded me of the time I was 16, chopping vegetables in the kitchen. I'd nicked my finger with a knife, and Mom had rushed over, panicked, wrapping my hand in a towel as she kissed my hair. Be careful, River. A scar on your hand is one thing, but a scar on your heart. She never finished that sentence. Now, staring at the horror in their eyes, I realized this family had already carved enough scars into both. When I was little, every time I scraped my knee or burned my hand, my mother would rush to me, her face full of worry. It's okay, sweetheart, she'd whisper as she blew gently on the wound. It doesn't hurt anymore. That same tenderness echoed in my mind now, even as blood ran down my face. Her voice was a ghost that refused to fade. I clutched my cheek and collapsed to the cold hospital floor. I didn't mean it, River. I'm sorry. I couldn't control myself. Agnes sobbed hysterically, her knife clattering to the ground. Then her eyes rolled back, and she fainted. Instant chaos followed. Nurses shouted. My parents cried out her name. Spencer lifted her in his arms, Skylar rushing ahead as they carried her away. And just like that, I was alone. The room was silent except for the faint hum of the fluorescent lights. I could taste salt, my own tears tracing the open wound on my face, stinging sharply as they fell. Mom. The word slipped out before I realized it, a broken whisper. No matter how tightly I tried to hold it in, the tears wouldn't stop. When I first arrived in this world, reborn, or perhaps misplaced, I had been cautious. My only goal was simple. Complete my mission, get my mother the treatment she needed, and leave. But as time went on, the saints began treating me kindly. They laughed with me, celebrated my birthdays, bought me gifts. Some part of me wanted to believe it was real, that I had been given a second family. But the truth was cruel. Love, even within a family, was never equal. Some people were born to receive it, others to beg for it. After lying there for what felt like hours, I forced myself to breathe, to swallow down the grief clawing at my chest. I pressed my palm against the wound, feeling the warmth of blood seep between my fingers, and slowly pushed myself upright. That's when the system prompt appeared before my eyes, glowing in faint red letters. 30 minutes until hospital incident. Host, please proceed to the designated location. My mission wasn't over. I found a nurse and asked her to clean my wound. She worked silently, eyes darting toward me, but said nothing. When she was done, I thanked her and stepped out into the corridor. only to find Spencer waiting. He looked furious, his face tight with rage and something darker, disappointment. He grabbed my arm before I could take another step. "River," he hissed, his grip bruising. "How could you be so vicious? Do you have any idea what's happening online? People are saying Agnes was assaulted. Because of you. Did you make them dig into her past and spread those rumors?" I blinked at him, speechless. "When did you become this kind of person?" he demanded, shaking my arm. "You're coming with me. You'll kneel and apologize to Agnes, and this time I won't protect you." The pain in my arm shot through my body as he dragged me down the hall. I struggled, but Skylar appeared, grabbing a fistful of my hair. "Still denying it?" he sneered. "We've spoiled you for too long." Together, they pulled me forward like I was something to be punished, not a person. "Brother." I cried out, my voice cracking. For a second, they hesitated, but only for a second. "Don't think calling us that will save you," Spencer snapped. "You're not getting away with this." But the brother I was calling wasn't them. It was him, the brother from my real world. The one who used to stand in front of me, bloodied but defiant, telling everyone who dared to hurt me that they'd regret it. The one who would have fought for me, no matter what. Thinking of him, of my real family waiting in another world, something inside me snapped. I gritted my teeth, and before I could stop myself, I slammed my head against the wall. Once.
Twice.
"River. Are you insane? Stop it." Spencer's voice cracked in horror. "River, don't do this." Skylar shouted, but his words blurred under the high-pitched ringing in my ears. I didn't stop. "Let me go," I whispered hoarsely. "Let me leave." The hallway fell deathly silent. Then, from a nearby room, I heard the shuffle of feet. Agnes and my parents emerged, their eyes wide as they took in the sight of me. Bleeding, trembling, unrecognizable. "River, what's wrong with you?" my father demanded, his voice breaking with confusion. Before I could answer, Agnes burst into tears. Her cries filled the corridor again, as if she hadn't already taken everything from me. "River, you looked so scary. Why did you cyberbully me?" "River?" Agnes's trembling voice cut through the air. Tears streamed down her face, but her words only deepened the wound already bleeding inside me. As she sobbed, the concern that had once flickered in everyone's eyes vanished, replaced by disappointment and disgust. "River, when did you become like this?" Spencer's voice was sharp and cold. "You've disappointed us so much," Skylar added bitterly. Their words fell like knives. Bloodied and dazed, I stood there as the system's shrill mechanical voice echoed in my mind. "Warning. Host, proceed immediately to the designated suicide location. Failure to comply will prevent your exit from this world." My heart pounded in terror. I pressed my hand against the wall for balance, forcing my trembling legs to move. Then I ran, the sound of my footsteps mixing with the chaos inside my head. Behind me, Spencer's furious voice rang out. "River, if you dare take even one step out that door, we'll disown you as our daughter." I stopped for a heartbeat. My lips trembled, then curled into a faint smile. "Okay," I said quietly. "Then I'll give my life back to you." Before anyone could react, I turned and sprinted down the stairs. On the first floor, panic erupted. A middle-aged man with wild eyes suddenly pulled a knife from his bag and screamed, "Where are the doctors? Are there no doctors in this damn hospital?" People shrieked and scattered. Nurses hid behind counters, patients backed against walls. I pushed through the terrified crowd, my heart hammering. My fingers brushed against the small folding knife I always carried. The man lunged toward a nurse, and I moved without thinking. The sharp sound of metal cutting through flesh echoed. His blade plunged into my chest, once, twice, again, and again. My body convulsed with each strike, the pain spreading like fire. Blood spilled down my uniform, warm and sticky. Summoning the last of my strength, I thrust my knife upward, driving it into his temple. His eyes widened in disbelief before he staggered backward and collapsed. My vision blurred. My knees buckled. Blood bubbled at my lips, but I managed to smile. "Mom, I'm back," I whispered. "Your daughter is finally home." Then everything went dark. "Someone help her. Save that girl." Voices screamed around me. Footsteps pounded. People rushed to restrain the attacker. The sharp scent of disinfectant mixed with the iron tang of blood. Moments later, the hospital broadcast blared through the corridors. "Emergency. Code blue.
Code white.
First floor outpatient hall. Up on the third floor, The Saint family froze. Spencer was the first to react, his face paling. There's a medical dispute downstairs. Someone's been hurt. I'll go check. Before he could finish, a nurse came running toward them, breathless and trembling. Dr. Saint. It's your sister. It's Miss River. Spencer's heart stopped. She stopped the attack, the nurse continued, her voice cracking. Then, softly, almost apologetically, she added, but she didn't make it. Silence fell like the aftermath of a storm. The world stopped. Spencer's legs moved before his mind could catch up, his white coat billowing behind him as he sprinted down the stairs. Behind him, Skylar's footsteps thundered, and their parents' cries echoed through the stairwell. When they reached the first floor, the scene was chaos contained. Security had cordoned off the area, nurses were wheeling away the wounded, and in the center of it all lay two bodies covered in white sheets. One sheet was already soaked through with blood. Spencer's hands trembled as he approached. A nurse tried to stop him, but he pushed past her, his breathing ragged. He knew. Somehow, he already knew. He pulled back the sheet. River's face was pale, almost translucent in the harsh hospital lights. Her eyes were closed, and for a moment, she looked peaceful, more peaceful than he'd ever seen her. But the blood. There was so much blood. The knife wounds across her chest formed a constellation of violence. 7 stab wounds. He counted them with a doctor's precision, even as his vision blurred. No, he whispered. No, no, no. Skylar stumbled to his knees beside him, his face drained of all color. River? River, wake up. This isn't funny. Wake up. Their mother's scream tore through the hall. My baby. My River. Addison Saint collapsed against her husband, who stood frozen, staring at the girl he'd raised for 18 years. The girl he'd just disowned. Sir. A young doctor approached nervously, clipboard in hand. We need to document. The deceased stopped the attacker and saved 7 people, including Dr. Chun from the Women's Health Department. She's being called a hero. Get out, Spencer said quietly. Sir, I said get out. His voice cracked, echoing off the sterile walls. The doctor fled. Spencer pressed his palms against his eyes, but the tears came anyway. I hit her. I hit my sister, and she told me she was here to die. She told me, and I didn't believe her. She was lying, Skylar said desperately, but his voice lacked conviction. She was just trying to get attention. She always. She's dead, Skylar. Spencer's voice broke. She's dead, and we killed her. A throat cleared behind them. They turned to find a police officer holding an evidence bag. Inside was River's phone, cracked and bloodstained. The victim's phone was unlocked when we found her, the officer said quietly. There's something you should see. Spencer took the phone with shaking hands. The screen was still lit, frozen on an app he didn't recognize. System post, it read, with a subtitle that made his blood run cold. Suicide prevention through intervention. He scrolled through with growing horror. Mission assigned to host River Saint. Prevent the death of Dr. Chin Whalen, who will develop life-saving medical innovations for women's health. Method. Intercept armed attacker at Bucksport Hospital, 11:47 p.m., October 19th. Warning. This method will result in host's death. Alternative methods available. Host has declined all alternative methods. Reason stated. I want to go home. I'm tired. The phone slipped from Spencer's hands, clattering on the floor. Skylar picked it up, his face contorting as he read. Then he opened River's messages, her photos, her search history.
Every search was about them.
About Agnes. How to help someone with PTSD. Signs your family doesn't love you. How to make your siblings notice you. Is it normal to feel invisible in your own family? Her photo gallery was worse. Hundreds of pictures, screenshots of the family group chat, all showing the same pattern. River sending messages that went unanswered. River sharing her achievements to silence. River asking for help and receiving nothing. And then, the photos of Agnes. River had documented everything. There was Agnes, alone in her room, her face twisted in rage as she deliberately cut her own arm with scissors. The timestamp showed it was the same day she'd blamed River for pushing her. Agnes mixing something into a drink, River's drink, based on the pink tumbler visible in the frame. The date matched the day River had been rushed to the hospital for food poisoning. Agnes with a burner phone, texting someone. Skylar zoomed in on the message preview. Post those photos of me at midnight. Make sure they say River leaked them. I'll handle the rest. No, Skylar whispered. No, this can't be real. But there was more. A voice recording from just hours ago, when Agnes had been alone in her hospital room before her suicide attempt. Agnes's voice came through, clear and cold, nothing like her usual trembling tone. God, I'm so tired of this. Playing the victim is exhausting. But it works every time. They'll believe anything I say. Especially if I cry. A pause, then a laugh. River's so stupid. She actually thinks if she's nice enough, they'll love her. But they'll never love her like they love me. I made sure of that. The phone clattered to the ground again. Stephen Saint bent down slowly, picking it up with shaking hands. He scrolled through everything again, his face aging years and minutes. When he reached the end, he found one last document. A letter, dated 3 months ago. Dear Mom and Dad, by the time you read this, I'll probably be gone. I don't mean that dramatically. I just mean I'll have completed my mission and returned to my real family. I want you to know I tried. I really did. When I first came to this world, I was confused and scared. But you all were so kind to me in the beginning. I thought maybe I could have 2 families. Maybe I could belong here too. But I understand now. Love isn't infinite. And when you found Agnes, your real daughter, there was no room left for me. I don't blame you for that. She needed you more. She'd been through terrible things. I wish you'd believed me sometimes. Just once. I'm not writing this to make you feel guilty. I'm writing because I want you to know that in another world, I have a mother who loves me, who believes in me, who's waiting for me, and I'm going back to her. Take care of Agnes. She needs you more than you know. Love, River. P.S. Spencer, I'm sorry I couldn't tell you where Kiana went. She made me promise. But I can tell you this. She loved Sawyer. She loved him so much it killed her. Sometimes love isn't enough. Addison Saint let out a sound that wasn't quite human, a keening wail that came from somewhere deep and primal. She lunged for River's body, pulling her daughter into her arms. River, baby, wake up. Mommy's sorry. Mommy's so sorry. Please, please wake up. But River's body was already cold. Stephen stood like a statue, the phone clutched in his hand, tears streaming silently down his face. We threw her away, he whispered. We threw our daughter away like garbage. Spencer's pager went off, an emergency in the ICU. He looked at it blankly, then threw it across the room where it shattered against the wall. I'm a doctor, he said hollowly. I save lives. That's what I do. But I couldn't save my own sister. I didn't even try. Skylar had gone completely silent, his face pale as death. He was staring at his phone, at the live stream he'd promised to do. If you really die today, I'll live stream myself eating shit. She'd died. She'd actually died. And he'd laughed about it. A commotion drew their attention. Agnes had appeared, escorted by a nurse. She looked delicate and confused, her eyes red from crying. What happened? Why is everyone? She stopped when she saw River's body. Oh my God. River? River. She moved toward the body, but Skylar stood up, blocking her path. Don't, he said quietly. Don't you dare touch her. Agnes blinked, her eyes welling with tears. Skylar, what are you? We know, Spencer interrupted, his voice dead. We know everything. The color drained from Agnes's face. Stephen Saint held up the phone. Would you like to explain these, Agnes? Or should I play the recording for everyone here? For a moment, just a moment, Agnes's mask slipped. Her expression went cold, calculating. Then the tears came again, perfectly timed. I don't know what you're talking about. River must have edited those. She hated me, she always. Enough. The roar came from Sawyer, who'd just arrived, limping on crutches. His leg was still in a cast from where Kiana's car had hit him. He looked like he'd aged a decade overnight. I heard everything from the officer outside, he said hoarsely. Every word. He turned to Agnes, and there was something terrible in his eyes. Kiana left me a letter. I found it today. Do you want to know what it said? Agnes went very still. She wrote that she'd discovered something about you. Something terrible. She said she was going to tell us all at River's birthday party. Sawyer's voice cracked. She died before she could. And River knew. River knew what Kiana discovered, and she kept quiet because she didn't think we'd believe her. He pulled out his phone, hands shaking, and opened a scanned image. This is Kiana's letter. She found medical records, Agnes. From the family that trafficked you. Agnes's face went white. You were never abused, Sawyer said quietly. You paid that family to say they trafficked you. You were their biological daughter, and they were poor, so you used them. You created an entire backstory of trauma to manipulate our parents. That's not. There's a paper trail, Stephen Saint interrupted, his voice like ice. I had my team investigate after reading River's files. The money transfers. The coaching sessions you gave that family on what to say. Everything. Agnes's carefully constructed world crumbled. Her face went through a dozen emotions, shock, fear, rage, before settling on cold defiance. So what? She spat, all pretense gone. So what if I lied? I'm your real daughter. Your blood. River was nothing, just a swap, a mistake. I deserve this family, not her. The slap came from Addison Saint, so hard it echoed through the corridor. You're right, Addison said, her voice shaking. You are our biological daughter. Our blood. She looked at Agnes with something like horror. And that's what terrifies me. Because if you came from us, if our blood created someone like you. Her voice broke. Then maybe River was right to want to leave. Hours later, after the police had taken Agnes away for questioning, after the media had arrived and been pushed back, after Dr. Chun had tearfully thanked the family of the brave girl who saved my life, the saint sat in a private room with River's body. Spencer had cleaned her wounds himself, his hands steady even as tears ran down his face. He'd dressed her in her favorite sweater, the blue one she'd worn to her last birthday, the one where no one had come. Addison had brushed her hair, the way she used to when River was small, before Agnes came. Stephen had placed River's acceptance letter to Oxford in her hands. It had arrived that morning. Full scholarship. Early admission to the physics department. River had made it. She just hadn't lived to see it. Skylar sat in the corner, his guitar in his lap, playing the song River had once asked him to teach her. He'd been too busy then. He had all the time in the world now, but no one to teach. Do you think? Addison whispered. Do you think she's really gone back? To her other family? No one answered. But as the night deepened and the moon rose outside the window, something strange happened. The temperature in the room dropped suddenly. Spencer's breath misted in the air. And there, just for a moment, standing by the window, a figure. Translucent, barely there. River, but not River. This version looked different, healthier, happier, wearing clothes they didn't recognize. She was smiling, really smiling, in a way they'd never seen. Mom, the figure whispered, but she wasn't looking at Addison. She was looking past them, past the walls, to somewhere else entirely. I'm home. Then she was gone. Addison let out a sob. She wasn't talking to me. No, Stephen said quietly, his voice heavy with a grief that would never fully heal. She wasn't. In the silence that followed, they each understood the same terrible truth. River had never truly been theirs. She'd been on loan, a gift they'd squandered, a love they'd taken for granted until it was too late. They had been her family in name only, but somewhere, in another world, another family had loved her the way she deserved. And perhaps that was the only comfort left, knowing that River Saint had finally made it home. Even if home was somewhere they could never follow. The next morning, the hospital unveiled a memorial plaque. In memory of River Saint, 18 who gave her life to save others, a hero, a daughter, a sister forever loved, forever missed. But the words felt hollow to those who read them, especially to the family who'd placed them there. Because they knew the truth. River Saint had been loved. Just not by them. And that was a wound that would never heal.